20 names, 1,000 years. France was not discovered. It was made, unmade, and made again by the people who believed they owned it. He was not French. That is the first thing to understand. The word did not exist when Charlemagne was born. The man crowned Emperor of the West in Rome on Christmas Day, 800, spoke Frankish, a Germanic dialect. He was the father of a Europe that had not yet been named, built on 53 campaigns, and a faith that preceded borders. The Palatine Chapel at Aachen was his true monument, built to outlast him, which it did, by 12 centuries and counting. He never called himself French. The word didn't exist yet. He was called Louis the Well-Beloved when he came to the throne at 5 years old. He was called Louis the Hated when he died, 59 years later, from smallpox, in a room his servants refused to enter. Between those two names lies the loss of New France, French India, and any pretense that Versailles could reform itself. He knew. He said so, après moi, le déluge. He was not wrong. He simply did not care enough to bail. The flood he predicted arrived on schedule, 30 years late. He was not weak. That is the mistake everyone makes about Louis XIII. The man who refused his mother, his wife, his brother, every conspiracy to remove Richelieu, was not passive. He was calculating. He understood what France required and chose the instrument with precision. At La Rochelle, he commanded in person, built the dike, starved the city. It was his battle, not Richelieu's. He had the wisdom to know which battles were worth fighting himself and which were better delegated. He knew what France needed. He chose the right man. When Charles V inherited the throne in 1364, the English held half of France. The Black Death had killed a third of the population, and the treasury was empty. He gave his armies to Bertrand du Guesclin with a single instruction: do not fight the English directly. Raid, harass, reclaim town by town. The English won every engagement and lost the war. He rebuilt the royal library, reformed taxation, paved Paris. Wars, Charles understood, are confirmed on battlefields, but won in offices long before. He won by refusing to fight. France is still here. He served the Ancien Regime, voted for the revolution, negotiated for Napoleon, and then helped dismantle Napoleon's empire at the Congress of Vienna, turning France from defeated enemy into necessary partner in a single negotiation. His method: make himself indispensable and identify the moment power was going to end before the power itself knew. Napoleon called him a silk stocking filled with manure. Talleyrand outlived Napoleon by 15 years. He died at 84 in his own bed in Paris. The last man standing. He buried 3 regimes. The 4th one made him an ambassador. He dressed like a peasant, refused ceremony, ate simply. The iron cages were real. Les Fillettes, too small to stand in, suspended from dungeon ceilings. Cardinal Balue spent 11 years in one. His weapon was information, France's first royal postal system, built not for public use, but to intercept correspondence. He read everything. He used everything. He unified France more completely than any king since Charlemagne through manipulation, patience, and other people's mail. From a plain room that looked like no king had ever sat in it, they called him the Spider. Spiders don't lose their webs. He was born in Rome and never lost the accent. He governed France as regent for a child king, and the French nobility revolted. The Fronde, Paris streets blocked with barricades, the court fleeing the capital in the night, a mob that wanted his head specifically. He went into exile. He returned. He went again. He came back stronger each time, while the nobility exhausted itself fighting. He died in 1661, leaving Louis the most powerful state in Europe, a secured border, and a private art collection. He was a provincial lawyer who never took a bribe and genuinely believed the revolution was building a republic of virtue. That belief killed 17,000 people in 10 months. He sent Danton to the guillotine, the man who had argued for mercy. When the convention turned against him on 9 Thermidor, His jaw was shattered by a pistol ball. He was carried to the scaffold the following morning, unable to speak his own defense. The incorruptible, consumed by the machine he had made absolute. The revolution he served had one more use for him. He abolished judicial torture, freed the serfs on royal lands, gave Protestants civil rights, and funded the American Revolution. None of it was enough. He had inherited a state spending more than it earned since Louis XIV, and every reform was blocked by a nobility that refused taxation. The Bastille held 7 prisoners when it was stormed. The crowd was not freeing captives. They were destroying the idea of royal authority, which was older and harder to kill than stone. He was 38 when the blade fell. He tried. The age required something France couldn't teach him. He was Napoleon's nephew. The name was the entire platform. He won the presidency in 1848 on it, staged a coup in 1851, declared himself emperor, and received plebiscite approval of 7.4 million to 640,000. He gave housemen a blank check to rebuild Paris. The boulevards, the sewers, the parks, the city tourists walk today. In 1870, he took personal command at Sedan and was captured. The last reigning European monarch taken prisoner on a battlefield. The boulevards remain. The empire did not. He carried the name perfectly, except at Sedan, where it mattered. He bought the crown of thorns for 135,000 livres and built Sainte-Chapelle to house it. The relic is gone. The chapel remains. He held open court under an oak tree, where any subject, regardless of rank, could bring a grievance directly to the king. No lawyers, no intermediaries. He led 2 crusades, was captured in Egypt, spent 4 more years in the Holy Land anyway. He died at Tunis on the 2nd attempt, the only French king to become a saint. He would have considered it the only title worth having. He is the only ruler in this list who was canonized. He was called Philip the Fair because he was extraordinarily handsome. Behind the face was a machine with one purpose: sovereignty. On Friday, October 13th, 1307, every Knight Templar in France was arrested before dawn. Planned for 2 years, not a single leak. He had already moved the papacy to Avignon. He was making himself sovereign over church and military order alike, something no European king had achieved. Jacques de Molay cursed him from the stake. Philip died 7 months later at 46. His dynasty lasted 14 more years. History noted the timing. He was 21 when he became king and wanted everything immediately. He invited Leonardo da Vinci to France in 1516. Leonardo was 64, his painting hand paralyzed, carrying 3 undelivered canvases, the Mona Lisa among them. He died at Amboise in 1519. Francis held him as he died, or so the legend says. 5 wars against Charles V. Captured at Pavia, held in Madrid, released, and immediately renounced the treaty he had signed under duress. He lost Italy every time. He kept the Renaissance. The choice has aged well. He lost Italy 6 times. He kept the Mona Lisa. He was never king. He held the title Mayor of the Palace, regent for Merovingian monarchs who had long since become ceremonial. The Umayyad Caliphate had crossed the Pyrenees and reached within 200 miles of Paris. At Tours in October 732, his infantry formed a shield wall and held for 7 days. The Umayyad commander was killed in the fighting. The army withdrew. Edward Gibbon wrote that had Martel failed, Oxford might now be teaching the Quran. The wall held. The continent survived to become itself. No king, no crown, just the wall that saved Europe. When Philip II was born, England controlled more of France than the French king did. He spent his reign taking it back, piece by piece, without sentiment. At Bouvines in 1214, he faced a coalition of England, Flanders, and the Holy Roman Emperor simultaneously. His chroniclers say he vomited from nerves before the battle. He fought anyway and won. Bouvines secured the French crown's supremacy, destroyed the Plantagenet claim to northern France, and made Germany ungovernable for a generation. He left France with double the territory he had inherited. The name Augustus was given posthumously. It fitted. He had fought in the wars of religion for 25 years when he became king, survived 3 sieges, 2 conspiracies, and the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre by temporarily converting to Catholicism. When he rode into Paris in 1594, the city did not resist. He had converted again. Paris is worth a mass. The Edict of Nantes in 1598 was the first act of state religious tolerance in modern European history. He survived 22 assassination attempts. On the Rue de la Ferronnerie, his carriage stopped in traffic. Ravaillac climbed onto the wheel. The 23rd succeeded. She was a Medici, orphaned at 3 weeks, married to the future Henry II at 14, ignored for a decade. And then Henry died in a jousting accident in 1559, and she began. She governed France through 3 of her sons for 30 years. The St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, August 24, 1572, was her order, or her failure to stop what she had started, or both. Between 3,000 and 70,000 died across France in 3 days. The range of that estimate tells you everything about the chaos she had released. She outlived 3 kings. All of them were her sons. He served Louis XIII for 18 years. When he took power, France was surrounded by Habsburg territory. When he died, France was the dominant power in Europe, and the Habsburgs were broken. He destroyed the military independence of the Huguenots, demolished noble fortresses across France, built the navy from almost nothing, founded the Académie Française. He was dying of tuberculosis for the last decade of his service. He dictated policy from his sickbed. He sent Louis XIII a letter of instructions as he died. Louis followed them for 5 months before dying himself. He built the state so well it survived his death. He came to power at 4 years old and died 72 years later, the longest reign of any major European monarch in recorded history. He forced the French nobility into Versailles and transformed them from a military threat into a performing class. In 1685, he revoked the Edict of Nantes, expelling 200,000 Huguenots, France's finest craftsmen and financiers. They built industries for his enemies. He considered it a victory for orthodoxy. His last words to his 5-year-old great-grandson: "Try to remain at peace with your neighbors." He had spent 33 of those 72 years at war. He ran out of heirs before he ran out of reign. He was born in Corsica in 1769, the year France purchased the island from Genoa. French by 1 year and by technicality. On December 2nd, 1804, he took the crown from the Pope's hands and placed it on his own head. No other authority would validate him. He said at St. Helena, "My true glory is not my victories in battle. It is my civil code." He ordered the Arc de Triomphe in 1806 after Austerlitz. He died in 1821. It was completed in 1836. He never saw it finished. He made it inevitable. 60 battles, 1 island. The island had the last word.